Pawz and All was born in the Valley, actually, in Van Nuys, California. I lived in a little studio apartment and I would just go to my 9 to 5, and from 5 to 9, I would work on Pawz and All every night until the vision came to life. Pretty much, I was grooming out of Hollywood, California, at a little mom and pop shop, and there was a moment where the light bulb went off, and I said, "Okay, hold on. The only difference between me being a groomer and me being a business owner and doing this for myself is pretty much just like my mindset and also the ability to market myself and the ability to get out there." So I had all the knowledge and I just packaged it together, and I used all of my free time to go ahead and build it out. I built the business plan and I just started executing. But Pawz and All, I feel like, was really born the first time that I walked into a grooming salon at Petco in Orlando, Florida. I was 17 years old. I didn't even know that dogs and cats got groomed. I didn't know what a grooming salon was. I just knew that whatever it was, I had to work there and I had to be there every day because I just loved the environment and I loved everything that had to do with having that one-on-one experience with pets. The love of pets came about. It's almost like this career calls you. You don't go look for it. I was born having a very big attraction to all types of animals, and my grandma, actually, maternal and paternal grandmother, would rescue cats. And so I would get shipped to Dominican Republic for 3 months because I was raised here in the States, but my parents wanted me to learn the culture, and every time I would go to Dominican Republic, I would ask for a cat. So they would always have a cat waiting for me. And that pretty much developed the love of animals that I already had. And I just feel like I was just born with a connection with them. So growing up, I knew that I had to go to college and I knew that I wanted to get a really good job. And I saw myself working at a corner office in a advertising firm. So I did just that. I went to college for marketing and advertising, and I landed my dream job as the marketing administrator for Estee Lauder for MAC Cosmetics. I was traveling the world. I was working out of a cubicle, and I was doing fun projects, but something hit me that I just felt I wasn't complete. This wasn't for me, and animals just kept popping up. Like I missed grooming. I missed working with them one-on-one. And that was the big aha moment that I had. And I said, wait, I'm destined for more. This is definitely not the path that I should be on. And I completely pivoted my whole life. And I said goodbye to the corporate life. And that's when I went back to animals. Initially, I aspired to be an actress. So I moved to Hollywood. And I started taking acting classes. And I started also getting gigs and going on auditions and getting my feet wet. And it was a lot of fun, but I did realize that you have to have very, very thick skin to be in that industry, and it wasn't all that it was made out to be. I'm also a very big empath, so I feel very deeply, and being around an environment like that, even though it was a lot of fun, I learned a lot, met great people. I said, wait, this also isn't for me. And I pretty much said, I'm going to stay in Hollywood, but I am going to go back to working with animals because that's really where my heart was this whole time. Grooming in Hollywood was one of the best experiences of my life because it allowed me to grow, and it also allowed me to work among the best groomers in the industry. The clientele that came into that store were A-list celebrities. Okay, we would service Mandy Moore, Katherine Heigl, Steve-O from Jackass, you name it. Our clientele lived in the Hollywood Hills, and they wanted quality. So every dog that came into that mom and pop came in rough and left a masterpiece. So this might be funny to some people, but us groomers, we see every dog like a masterpiece, and we see every dog like a blank canvas, and it is our expression of art. And the reason being is because grooming is pretty much creating shapes or morphing something that looks raggedy to something beautiful. And it's like a creative expression. You don't have to say much, but when you pick up those clippers or those shears, magic happens. And also with art, you know that me painting a picture is not going to be the same way that you're going to paint a picture. So that also translates into grooming because not all groomers groom the same. We all have different styles and we all go about it different ways. I was working 5 days a week in this mom and pop, and I was just grinding day in and day out, doing 5 to 6 dogs a day, well, cats also. But I knew that I was destined for more. So what I did is I betted on myself and I bought my first van out of Arizona. I drove it to LA and I started servicing up and down that 101. And I used to service clients in Santa Monica, Hollywood Hills, the Valley, Calabasas, Studio City. I used to drive that van up and down the 101. Business started booming and it went very fast. And I found myself overworking. I didn't have family around me. It was just me, my van, the dogs, and the cats. And I found myself having to make a decision because I was so consumed with work. I started burning out. And I told myself, okay, if I want to build this, then I'm going to either have to make a decision to build it in Los Angeles or I'm going to go back home to Florida and restart it all. Because Florida is where my family was living at the time. I picked up my clippers, my thinning shears, my curve shears, my whole grooming van. I towed that bad boy and I went from coast to coast. Granted, I had a booming business in LA, and when I moved to Florida, I had a total of 0 clients. So that meant that I had to start over from scratch. I utilized my family and friends in Florida first to start grooming their dogs, and then I started pushing social media. So every day, even if I had 1 dog booked on my schedule, I would make various pieces of content and I would make sure that after I was done grooming, I would go home and I would just post. And that is how I started getting traction and attraction from pet parents across Orlando. Understanding that I needed marketing and I had a limited budget at the time, I knew that I had a couple of things that were going to help me get to where I wanted to go. And that was my phone, YouTube, and myself, the pets, and my van. So with those ingredients, I made magic happen and here we are. And then you sprinkle my alter egos in there. I don't know if you guys see my videos with my wigs, but yeah, that's also a recipe for success. So after promoting every day, after a long work day, my clientele list started to grow, which meant that I had more work and I was very thankful for that. But I also had less time and I started capping out. So I wasn't able to take any more new clients and I didn't know where to go from there. I was a bit lost. And then I realized that I actually created a job for myself. So what I decided to do was hire my first grooming assistant and train her to become a groomer. And there was the birth of my fleet. I got my second van in 2021. My first pet assistant and trainee trained with me for the whole summer for about 5 months. And after she was done, I gifted her with a brand new van. Business kept on expanding and I started attracting other groomers that were not happy with where they were working, and I took them under my wing. After a while, after getting my second van, I started getting other groomers and other mobile groomers contacting me, asking me questions about the industry. So what I did is I gathered all those questions and I created an online course called Mobile Grooming for Bosses, which I have sold countless times, and I have helped groomers and entrepreneurs to the finish line and have seen them get a van and get on the road and work for themselves. So I didn't think it was gonna do that well. And I didn't even think people were listening to what I had to say, but I am glad that I've been able to change lives and inspire and execute on the dream, and also just help people get out of, sucky grooming situations and get into their own business. I'm a single immigrant Latina that hasn't been a manager at any job ever. And I left my cozy little job and launched this business that is now growing every day. And not only am I impacting the lives of pet parents, pets, I'm also impacting the lives of groomers. So I am living out this dream and I love sharing it with other people. So literally, like, the sky's the limit. when it comes to Pawz and All and everything that I have yet to do. And now you're looking at the owner of 3 mobile grooming vans. We have a team of 4 amazing groomers. Might I add, we are the best mobile groomers in Orlando, Florida. And I have now 2 online courses and so many exciting projects coming up. I love what I do. I love the journey that I'm on. And this was fueled by passion and by hard work and by not listening to anybody else but myself. So I want to say to you, if you have a dream, if you have a vision, and if you have a passion, please execute on it, no matter how silly it might sound to anybody else. It was very hard for me to tell my immigrant family that I would be bathing and grooming cats and dogs for a living. But they supported me, even though they thought I was crazy, and look how far I've come. Don't listen to anybody, have tunnel vision, put your head down, and work hard. That's the secret sauce. That's it. And stay consistent and always be nice to people. Always remember that you are enough and you have all it takes.